The MG2 ITS Products lowering device provides a locking mechanism which ensures that the full weight of the camera, lighting fixture, or other device is carried by the contact suspension, thus relieving the winch, pulleys, and steel cable from tension. These parts are in tension only during actual raising and lowering of the camera lighting fixture. The electrical connection is broken during unlocking and lowering, thus no live cables are lowered with the camera fixture. The camera or lighting fixture can be lowered to ground level by one person without the need for ladders, bucket trucks, lifts, scaffolds, etc. Warning: do not begin installation until a factory representative has conducted on-site training. The specifications require on-site training. Any installation of lowering device equipment prior to on-site training by a factory rep may void certification. This does not include the mating of poles with multiple sections. Please read all instructions prior to assembly. If there is something you do not understand, please contact MG2 for installation. The erected pole must be vertical and plumb. Camera, luminaire, or other device must be balanced vertically in all planes. Camera, luminaire balance is very important so as not to create difficulty in locking and unlocking. The contact unit must have a minimum weight sufficient to disengage the locking mechanism. Additional weight can be supplied. Bottom and top halves of the connector assembly are tested as a set. Do not interchange bottom and top halves without written consent from the factory. Each half has a serial numbered hard stamp to help ensure sets are maintained. MG2 and ITS Products recommends the following tools for the assembly of the camera fixture lowering device. More details on these tools can be found in the written instructional manual. CLD materials ship separate from the poles and usually arrive in boxes or skids. Some accessories, including the electric drill, ship separately from poles and from the CLD. For the installation of the camera lowering device, you will need the following materials: camera lowering device, or CLD for short, with the conduit mount adapter, the pole top junction box, the camera junction box, and 4 circular camera junction box weights. All 4 of these weights will be needed. The contractor supplied 1 1/4" PVC conduit along with PVC primer and glue. Power signal cable, either user supplied or the optional MG2 composite cable. The lowering tool winch. This will be needed to complete the full installation of the camera lowering device. And of course, a pole along with the pole top tenon and hardware. Start with the pole in a horizontal position with the top of the pole ideally 3 feet off the ground. Please make sure that the handhole is accessible. Please note, never mount the CLD directly above the handhole. For the safety of the operator's winch handhole must be at least 90 degrees where the CLD will be mounted. Take a look at this diagram for an example. Other pole-mounted equipment such as pole-mounted cabinets, detectors, antennas, RTMS, and other materials must be mounted, keeping this safety requirement in mind. To start, let's bolt on the adjustable tenon. Some tenons may come pre-installed. Be sure that all bolts are tight, and be sure that the tenon slot is aligned to the desired location in relation to the handhole. Here we'll see a field installation of a tenon to a concrete pole. Attach the 4 bolts and the included hardware from the pole manufacturer. Tenons are slotted in order to give you many degrees of play. Assemble the 1 1/4" PVC conduit, the length from the handhole to the pole top, using PVC primer and PVC glue, and allow to dry. Tip: in cold weather, PVC glue does not set fast. Use duct tape around the glued sections of the conduit to prevent glued sections from pulling apart until the glue has set. It is acceptable to leave the duct tape on the conduit. Assemble the provided 1 1/4" rigid conduit fitter to the top of one section of the PVC conduit using primer and glue. Allow to dry. It is not required at this part of the installation. However, while assembling the PVC, tape your power signal cable to the conduit in order to use it as a push rod. This will save a step later on in the installation. Now, feed the conduit through the tenon and down towards the handhole. Continue feeding the conduit down the pole until the hole on the rigid conduit fitter is aligned with the bottom hole on the tenon with the slot. Now remove the bolt, nut, and washer from the bottom hole of the CLD. Line up the small hole in the rigid conduit fitter with the bottom hole in the tenon. Temporarily attach the rigid conduit fitter to the tenon by inserting the bolt through the large hole on the fitter and securing with the bolt and washer. Mark the conduit flush with the top of the handhole and cut off the excess PVC. If a bell coupling was provided, glue the bell coupler onto the conduit. Reinstall the conduit and temporarily reattach the rigid conduit fitter to the tenon by inserting the bolt through the large hole on the fitter and securing with the bolt and washer. Now it's time to fetch the CLD and place it next to the pole top tenon near the slot where the CLD will be mounted. Be sure to keep the CLD clean and clear of dirt and debris, which can foul the locking mechanism. Locate the stainless steel cable attached to the CLD. Unroll the stainless steel cables in a hand-over-hand method to avoid curls in the cable. Curls or kinks in the stainless steel cable can prevent the device from functioning properly. Feed a fish tape up through the conduit from the handhole. Bring the end of the stainless steel cable back to the tenon and thread the thimble end with a quick link through the slot in the tenon and pull down through the fitter conduit. Remember, take the stainless steel cable through the slot in the tenon. As the fish tape pulls the stainless steel cable down the conduit, it will be necessary to lift the CLD and begin to attach the arm to the tenon. While doing this, several procedures must occur. Remove the nut washer from the bottom bolt that is threaded through the conduit fitter tenon. Remove the top bolt nut washer from the CLD. Next, you will need to ensure the electrical conductors in the arm pass through the slot and out of the top of the tenon. You will attach the CLD to the tenon with the bolts provided. Bolts go on the inside of the tenon and nuts go on the outside of the tenon. Be careful not to pinch conductors or stainless steel lowering cable. Insert a finger through the pole top tenon into the conduit mount fitter and place it between the stainless steel cable and the bottom bolt. This will ensure that the stainless steel cable is not pinched behind the bolt. Once the stainless steel cable is pulled through the conduit, immediately attach the quick link to the parking stand. Tip: Detach the bottom contact unit from the upper unit by pulling down on the contact and locate the cable clamp at the end of the stainless steel cable. With the stainless steel cable secured at the appropriate parking stand, grip the cable clamp and stainless steel cable and take out all of the slack. With the slack out and slight positive tension on the lowering cable to keep it on the pulleys, push the bottom contact unit back into the bell until the rubber gasket around the bottom unit is in contact with the bell. It is not necessary to latch the unit. If you have not already done so, remove the stainless steel cable from the fish tape once the CLD is attached and connect the quick link onto a parking stand. If using multiple CLDs, connect the quick link onto the parking stand located in the closest vertical plane as the camera lowering device orientation. Do not install the camera junction box until the pole is erected and set. Installing the camera junction box prior to setting of the pole may damage the alignment probe and void all warranties. Now that the lowering device is attached to the tenon and the quick link is attached to the appropriate parking stand and secured, detach the bottom contact unit from the upper unit by pulling down on the contact and locate the cable clamp at the end of the stainless steel cable. Grip lower contact with fingers and use thumbs to push against the bell housing to release the contact. Units are shipped unlatched from the factory. However, if the contact unit is latched, you will need to push the contact unit up and then down to unlatch, and then pull the unit out. Please see the instruction manual for detailed information on this process. Now that you have detached the bottom contact unit and located the cable clamp, with the stainless steel cable secured to the appropriate parking stand, grip the cable clamp and stainless steel cable and take out all of the slack. With the slack out and slight positive tension on the lowering cable, push the bottom contact unit into the bell until the rubber gasket around the bottom unit is in contact with the bell. It is not necessary to latch the unit at this time. During installation, never engage or disengage the lowering device without first maintaining tension on the lowering cable, either at the handhole or by pulling tension from the cable clamp. Make up the non-slip safety knot to the clamping hardware as close to the bottom contact unit as possible to prevent excess cable slack. Wrap the stainless steel cable with electrical tape about 1.25 inches from the cable clamp before cutting the excess cable to prevent fraying. Cut the cable through the electrical tape. Loosen the screws of the cable clamp to separate the clamp halves enough to fit the cable through the notches, but do not remove the screws completely. Feed cable in coming from the bottom of the contact unit into the center notches of the cable clamp. Pull approximately 5 inches of cable through the clamp. Insert the end of the cable through one of the side notches. Cable should move easily through the notches of the clamp. If the cable is too loose and moves out of the notches, tighten the screws slightly until the cable stays within the notches. Do not pull the cable tight. Pass the end of the cable across to the other side notch and through the clamp. End of cable must be fed through the loop formed by the cable coming from the center notch and first side notch so that when the cable is pulled tight, the loop closes on the end portion of the cable. Carefully pull the cable loops tight by pulling back on the cable portion coming from the disconnect unit. Be sure cable remains within the notches of the clamp. With all loops as small as possible, tighten screws in an alternating pattern until tight. After wrapping with electrical tape, trim the cable end as necessary, leaving about 1/2 inch to 1 1/4 inch extruding from the knot. Insert the cable clamp into the slot of the bottom contact as shown here. Once again, it is important that the clamp fits into the bottom contact slot as pictured. Warning: to prevent serious personal injury, the cable clamp must be properly assembled and the cable must be properly routed through the clamp as specified within. No attempt at lifting any load should be made until all specification conditions are met. Please refer to the instruction manual for more details regarding the cable clamp assembly. Do not lift people or operate any lowering system over people. Never stand directly below the lowering device during operation. The length of the lowering cable is crucial to the proper and safe functioning of the camera lowering device. If the cable is too long, then the hardware on the portable winch will get caught in the pulley on the winch frame, not allowing the camera lowering device to latch or unlatch. If the cable is too short, then it will be difficult to attach the lowering cable to an available parking stand located on or inside the handhold. By attaching the lowering cable to a parking stand during installation, pulling out all slack, and assembling the cable clamp as close to the bell housing as possible, this will typically give you the desired length of cable to properly latch and unlatch the device. However, the proper length cannot be confirmed until after the pole is erected, camera junction box attached, and the unit operated. Final adjustments, if necessary, can easily be made at ground level following the procedures discussed in the installation instruction manual. Lastly, the stainless steel lowering cable is subject to stretching over time and use. This is a normal and natural occurrence. Therefore, over time it may be necessary to shorten the length of the cable during routine maintenance. Now that the camera lowering device is attached and the lowering cable secured with the cable clamp assembly, feed the composite power signal cable down through the tenon to the bottom of the pole. It is permissible to have earlier fed the composite cable down the pole while the conduit was being installed in the pole by following a previous tip on this instructional DVD. Unroll composite cable hand over hand to avoid kinks. Feed the power signal cable down the pole. If using pre-wired composite cable, simply plug in the connectors. For non-pre-wired systems, terminate the numbered CLD leads to your desired wire for camera control, power, and video. It is up to the contractor or installer to determine the best procedure for terminating the wires. Be sure to make a record of your wiring diagram for later reference. After terminating all conductors and wires, secure the pole top junction box to the tenon. Strain relieve the composite power signal cable to either the J-hook inside the tenon or onto the J-hook inside the pole top junction box. Secure the strain relief to the J-hooks to prevent strain relief from releasing during pole installation. Adjust the strain relief so that all cable conductors fit inside the pole top junction box. Keep power signal cable clear from the lowering cable and rear pulley. Before erecting each pole, check all conductors and leads for continuity to verify clean signal throughout each utilized pin. This will require you to engage the bottom contact unit. When doing so, be sure to keep positive tension on the stainless steel cable by pulling the lowering cable and keeping tension from the handhold. With continuity confirmed, secure the lid of the pole top junction box. Disengage the bottom contact unit and leave in the unlatched position to place positive tension on the cable until the pole is raised and set. Attach a pull cord to the bottom of the contact, as there will be very little or no weight on the contact at this time. The pull cord will help guide the bottom contact near the handhold once the pole is erect. Once again, do not install the camera junction box until the pole is erected and set. Installing the camera junction box prior to setting of the pole may damage the alignment probe and void all warranties. Before the pole is raised, ensure that the stainless steel cable inside the pole is secured by the quick link to the parking stand. Raise the pole using care not to allow the arm to come in contact with the ground or the lifting hoist. Secure the pole to the foundation. The pole must be installed plumb for the lowering device to function properly. After the pole is set, insert the lowering tool into the handhold and secure it to the pole. attached to the winch handle as seen here. Feed the winch cable up and attach the winch cable to the teardrop eyelet of the lowering cable, using the quick link while leaving the lowering cable attached to the parking stand. Make sure that the threads of the quick link are completely engaged. Once the winch cable is secured to the lowering cable, detach the lowering cable from the quick link that is attached to the parking stand. Warning: to avoid serious injury or death, the lowering cable shall always be attached to either the parking stand, winch cable, or both. Never detach the winch cable until the lowering cable is reattached to the parking stand. Lower the bottom contact unit and pull on the pull cord as necessary. Attach the camera junction box to the 4 bolts coming from the bottom contact. In order to do that, first unhinge and remove the top half of the camera junction box. Feed the CLD leads down through the top section of the camera junction box. Using a 7/16 wrench and a 7/16 nut driver, attach the junction box to the camera lowering device with the included bolts, nuts, and washers. Reattach the bottom side of the hinge box to the top side and secure it with the included nut. Fetch the 4 weights. Remove pilling from the pre-installed 3M double-sided tape installed per each weight. Carefully guide the weights onto the top of the junction box with the notches facing up and indentions down, and rotate each weight to match the indentions with the notches in order to keep the weights from rotating. All 4 weights must be installed before raising the camera lowering device into the latch position. Failure to install the weights prior to latching will result in the insufficient weight required to unlatch the camera lowering device. Dome cameras will simply screw into the 1.5" MTP tapped hole in the bottom of the camera junction box. Once again, all 4 weights must be installed before raising the camera lowering device into the latch position. Attention must be paid throughout the raising and lowering process to prevent bunching of the wire rope on the winch. The winch should be oiled prior to each use according to the recommendations in the winch manual. A heavy-duty gear oil is acceptable. Never oil the winch with WD-40, brake fluid, or hydraulic fluid. For your safety, never stand directly below the unit when raising or lowering. To raise, simply raise the camera or fixture by cranking the winch. If using the electric drill assembly, raise the camera to about 2 to 3 feet from the top and operate the remaining distance manually. It is important to always disengage and re-engage the device by using the manual handle only. When winding the unit up, use caution the last 1 foot as guide pins are aligning. If the plunger fails to enter, re-lower 1 foot and retry. If difficulty persists, lower to the ground and check the lines of balance. When the movable parts are hard home, indicated by the obvious resistance while attempting to crank the winch, release tension by cranking in the opposite direction and crank down 1 or 2 turns of the handle to lock in the suspension cams. Slack will be visually confirmed in the cable, indicating the device is properly latched at the top. Once latched, reconnect the pole cable to the quick link on the parking stand. Always keep the pole cable affixed to the winch cable until the pole cable is clearly affixed to the parking stand. Remember, the pole cable must always remain attached to either the parking stand and the pole, the winch cable, or to both. Do not allow the lowering cable to hang unattached inside the pole. Note: Always check that the lowering cable is slack before you leave it. You then know that the fitting is suspended by the unit and is not hanging on the cable. Unfasten the winch from the pole and place the handhold cover back on the pole. To lower, mount and secure the lowering tool to the pole as previously described in this video. Just as before, feed the cable from the winch up to the pole cable coming down the pole. While the pole cable remains attached to the eye bolt, aka parking stand, attach the winch cable to the pole cable eyelet using the provided quick link connector. The quick link must be completely screwed shut before any pressure is applied. There should be no tension in the pole cable at this time. The handle is turned in the direction of lift in order to unlock the contact suspension unit. See the diagram to the left. The operator should feel resistance in the hand crank as the movable portion of the disconnect unit travels upwards to the top of the locking maze as it prepares to disengage. Then turning the handle in the opposite direction lowers the movable part of the suspension unit straight down. Be sure to guide the quick link lowering cable and hardware crimps past the lip and into the conduit. Once the unit is unlocked or disengaged, turn the winch handle the opposite direction to begin to lower the camera. There may be slight resistance as you push back through the braking mechanism on the winch. If you are unsuccessful in your first attempt to unlock or disengage the unit, repeat the process and slightly increase your tension when turning the handle in the lift direction. If utilizing a factory-provided electric drill motor and clutch assembly, first lower the camera fixture 2 to 3 feet manually before attaching and operating the variable speed drill. You should operate your drill at the low setting. Operating at higher settings may cause the braking mechanism on the winch to engage. Never engage or disengage the lowering unit with the drill motor. Always engage or disengage the lowering unit using the manual handle. Lower the camera to your desired height for maintenance. It is recommended not to lower the bottom contact below the top lip of the handhold. Doing so may cause the hardware on the lowering cable to come into contact with the cable stop on the back of the camera lowering device arm located at the top of the pole. This will cause slack on the cable and may result in the hardware wedging into the cable stop, making it difficult to release. If you notice slack on the winch cable after you've lowered your camera, turn the winch handle in the lift direction until the slack is removed and tension is back on the lowering cable. Warning: for your safety, never stand directly below the unit when raising or lowering. This concludes the video portion of the installation instruction. This video is to be used in conjunction with the written manual and should not be viewed without first reading the written manual. You will find additional details in the written manual in regards to installation, operation, and maintenance of the camera lowering device.